The school building committee to order at 5:30.
We are.
Thank you all for coming. It's been a while. Dave Sawyer. Oh, hello, Dave. There you are.
Good evening.
Jason.
Yep. Not that one.
Not Parento. Okay, the other Jason. Laurie Regan. Jackie's here. Jerry's here. Jay Allard. Oh, there you are, Jay. Yes. Okay. Kate's not here. Terry's here. Scott's not here. Ed's here. Mark's here. Rob's here. Peter Gagne.
He's not even on anymore.
Oh, no. All right. Jeremy Gay.
Not here.
All right. Andrew is here. Gail?
Not here.
No Gail? All right. Who did I miss? For sure here.
And I.
Yes, and us. Okay, very good. Did I get everybody?
Yep.
All right, and, okay. All right, very good. First order of business is approval of the minutes from November 13th.
Move to approve?
Second.
Those are extras.
Okay. Any comments, questions, edits required? No? Okay, motion to approve? Oh, you just did that. So
We did that.
Okay.
Just said I second it, so.
Okay, no need for any changes. Good. All right, moving on. Forgive me, it's been a while. All right,
We have to vote.
We got to vote it on.
vote on the minutes, please. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Opposed? Minutes are approved. All right, moving on. An update, the latest and greatest.
So the last thing for the construction team, should I come
Come
up here?
up to the
Up
podium.
to the podium.
How's everyone doing? So the last thing on for the construction scope, I guess, was the PV array, getting that on board, online and running. So the update with that is the N-Grid application has been approved. The equipment that needs to be added, which is what we've been referring to as like the backflow preventer, it's a SEL relay assembly. That product has been approved by the design team and N-Grid, and it has been ordered. And all we're waiting for is for it to come in. Once it's available, it's about a 1-day install, about another day to get it online with the school's help of getting it integrated to the BMS system. And then it's about 2 to 3 weeks for N-Grid to come out and inspect that work and do the work that they need to do on the meter. And then we should be able to liven up the PV array. So, because we are able to finalize that scope, we also are able to finalize the final credit going back to the project or to the city from the construction budget. So that is also on the agenda after, if there's any questions on PVs.
I have a question, and maybe it's for later. The $7,000, whatever it was that we owe,
Yep.
is there also a study fee? What's the study
The
fee?
study fee was already paid by the city.
Okay. All right, so I just have a question, just so I understand. You said that the original design was not a no export system,
Correct.
but it was always the understanding that the system would not send electricity to the grid. So I guess my question, why wasn't it a no export system from the beginning? If that's what we wanted to do, I guess why did we?
I think when we were saying that it was never intended for power to go back to the grid is just because of the sheer size of the school and the energy consumption that, it has even when it's not in use, versus the small amount of power that the PV array produces, that there's never really going to be an excess of power generated by the PVs that would have to go back to the grid.
So that's not really a question of intention, though. That was just an issue of it. We wouldn't have had the capacity of the electricity.
Correct. It would never generate enough to surpass what the school is
Mayor, if I
consuming.
remember right, we were looking at something like 5% of
Yeah.
the school's power needs being provided by this system.
Yep.
So everyone made an assumption, and it
Right.
turned out that
Well, and then
National
it
Grid had a different viewpoint.
right, and then when National Grid kind of gave us the option to go no export, we're like, well, yeah, we weren't planning to really export any power anyways. So that's why we took that option.
Yeah.
And saved a good amount of time based on their estimate of what that timeline would have been, and potential costs as well, because the city would have had to pay for any upgrades as part of that study as well.
Yeah. And I don't mean to belabor the point. I know it's inconsequential in the relative scheme of things, but we have lost 2 years on this matter. Should someone have known that if we don't intend to, we don't intend, nor do we desire to send, nor do we think we can send electricity to the grid, might someone have known, yeah, well, we just need to get this backflow preventer installed? Was that not in the ordinary course of expertise in that area?
Yeah, I guess, I mean, hindsight, maybe we could have known. I guess the biggest unknown from my perspective, oh, Joe, you want to speak?
Not really.
And I say, because it's like two plus years and all the lost, the electricity that we've been paying for in that time, so it's not meaningless question. I know it's late, but.
The default in these kinds of systems is to do it the way that it was designed. The not returning it to the grid, because when you do it like for a residential location, there's always the intent that the power you're generating will be returned to the grid, and that's typically what we do with other projects. In this case, when the opportunity came up to shorten the study phase from 5 years to 2 years, we took that opportunity because we'd be having this conversation 3 years from now had we not done that. And to do that, we had to have it so that we changed the operation of the grid so that it was now only going to be used by the building. I mean, there was always the possibility that if the building was totally unoccupied and you just had nothing going on in the middle of Christmas break, that who knows, you could have had some more than 5% generated and you could have had less than that used. But in this case, this was an opportunity we took rather than waiting the extra 3 years.
All right,
That's the
so I'm just wondering again, as an exercise for those members of the public who have been following this saga, if the facility had been running for 2 years to maximum potential and supplying maximum amount of electricity to the school, has anybody calculated the cost of what that would have saved the city?
We have not. No, we have not done that.
Okay.
I think it could be generated, oh my God, Jack, what happened to you?
I think I pinched a nerve.
Oh, okay, wasn't a lawsuit.
No.
Slip and fall.
We have not done that
My wife beat me
calculation.
up
We could do that
and this is
calculation,
what's
but I
happening.
think regardless of whether we did 2 years or 5 years, you would still be in the position where you couldn't use the system until it was licensed through Ngrid.
Yeah.
And there was never, I think, the opportunity, based on the way Ngrid licensed these things, to have it so it was operational the date that we opened the school.
All right. And again, I'm asking, I'm not the only one. I
Oh, I understand.
I was contacted by at least one resident who had the same question.
And you're not the first one
Yeah.
that has been frustrated by National Grid.
And I think the other unknown is the study that Ngrid would, right, if we had done the application as designed and Ngrid took their normal review process and didn't say you have to do a 3 to 5 year study, then that was an unknown that none of us could have planned for. And my understanding is because Attleboro is such a hub for the Ngrid infrastructure, and there were so many PV arrays trying to come online that's why they had over 200 PV arrays trying to come online around the same time as ours, and that's why they were saying that they needed to do that study. So that's not something we could have planned for the project.
Well, I do want to throw a little correction in there, because if we had realized and started in 2019 applying to National Grid,
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
we would have been open at the time. It was the fact that I think, as my memory is, that we didn't start until just before we were ready to take occupancy of the school, and didn't realize that National Grid would have a process that took this long.
That too, yes.
Yeah, that is true. We didn't apply as early as we could have. I found that in my old email somewhere, so thank you for that.
What National Grid is doing now is that they're requiring that, for instance, starting a project too, they're requiring that systems be available, that products be known, that sort of thing, and you can't do that when you're starting a project. You need to wait to get submittals and to get stuff on site to be able to tell them exactly what the system components are and what they're generating. We just didn't have that information at the time.
Just for clarification, so if it's known that the system's not gonna be generating back to the grid, does National Grid still have a lengthy review?
2 years.
So it's
That's
still,
what we're doing for 2 years, yeah.
And National Grid also if I can criticize them, played a game with Griffin, because they would put an application in and they would say, oh, this is missing, and turn it back to them. So they'd fix that, and then they'd
Starts the
say,
whole
oh, this
process.
other thing is missing, and turn it back to them. And that happened several times, didn't it?
Yes, at least 4 or 5 times.
If they had told Griffin in the beginning all of the things, it would have sped up the process, wouldn't it? So I do have a question, though.
Yeah.
What's our warranty situation on the PV array? Does that kick in for a year when it's turned on a month from now?
Yes, because it's not included in as part of the substantial completion that we've agreed to for everything else except for the PVs.
And so the date that it's turned on, we'll need to have that memorialized.
Yes.
Okay.
So, I don't know if, there is an email from Engrid where they say they determined that the original application was for non-export, but no protection controls were installed. Is that inaccurate?
No, that's correct.
Okay. All right, so it was non-export because you didn't think there would be the capacity to send anything back to the grid
At
anyway.
the time
but
that they
that's how-
submitted this application, it was, as Jack said, very close to the time of occupancy. And by that time, we understood,
What it was, okay, gotcha. All right,
because they had gone back and forth a few times.
it's unfortunate. It's most unfortunate situation. All right, Corey, any other updates then?
Not on the construction, nope. That's the last piece for us.
Okay.
So, I'm sorry, just to clarify, everything with the array is in order and progressing? There are no additional steps that the city needs to take, or?
Nope,
Okay.
just the N-Grid cost to have them swap the meter and inspect the work. That's, which is like a $7,000 fee.
Okay, thank you.
And we could have included it in, in our final cost, but then we're just paying markup on a pass-through cost. So I figured it was less expensive to go through the city, just like we did with the study costs.
Thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else have anything? All right. Is that it, Corey, then?
That's it, or do you want to go
Do you
through
wanna
the
do
change?
Just the summary of the closeout, just for what you guys are doing?
Yeah. So, as I mentioned, now that we've been able to finalize that scope, we were able to finalize the credit change order, the last one, which is GCR 242. It's a credit of $176,162.75, and that will be the final cost of the project. So, unused money from allowances, contingency, and general conditions. That will be memorialized in the final GCO. What number is it? Is that 37? So. And then once the work is complete, once Griffin does their work and the National Grid accepts it, and we do the substantial completion for the PVs, we will submit our final bill to the city. Hopefully in April sometime.
So is this 176 the total amount that we were under our 259,980-ish, or were there other numbers, or did Anjanette speak to that?
Yeah.
Well, that is the total amount of the final savings. After everything else that was provided to the project through change orders, allowances, all of the contract work that was completed.
Anjanette, why don't you come up to the podium?
Okay.
Yeah, so that's
Right. So this is the final number. This is going to be the final adjustment, the credit change order back to the project. And that is all inclusive of all of the change order work that's been done, all of the allowances that were unused being returned to the project. So that's the final number.
So Mayor, does that mean that we just will not borrow $176,000?
I don't know. I'll actually have to ask the finance team. I don't know. I think we've,
I don't know that's what I was wondering. Does the cash go to the city, or do you just not borrow the 176?
I honestly don't know. I can follow up with the auditor or the treasurer, but I don't know.
Okay.
So,
So that is just, Joe made a point here, is that we've already returned money to the project, but the money that's already been returned through credit savings was used to buy other things or purchase other things. So this is, after everything is all said and done, that is actually what's being returned to the city.
What's the amount by which we were under budget?
Yes.
Okay, so can we move into,
Please.
does anybody have any other questions? I just wanted to move into the invoices, if you don't mind, is that okay? All right, so there were a number of invoices since our last meeting. We had, for Skanska, we had 3 invoices for December, January, and February, $20,600, $6,620, $1,140. KBA had 3 invoices, $1,112, $550, and $4,417. And then Consigli had 1 application that was submitted previously. We had to make an adjustment, an amendment, because they took out their
The Consigli's retained.
the Consigli retainage, so the adjustment is down to 233, 591.71. So we just wanted to make an amendment to that value for approval and ask the committee for approval on the invoices to be paid.
Move to approve?
Second. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns about the invoices submitted? All those in favor? Aye.
So, thank you. So I just wanted to just sort of speak to what Corey had said about the final closeout. We anticipate their final invoice to be approved at the April SBC meeting, and that would be the final credit change order. And then also, we're working with KBA now to finalize their contract. I believe there's going to be some contract savings. Joe, I don't know if you wanted to speak to that.
Don't have to. There will be contract savings from allowances, things
From-
we didn't bill against,
Right.
but there still are some outstanding costs related to the final Conservation Commission.
Right. So that we're hoping to have reconciled also in April, and then we'll be able to submit final bills for both of them. And then, once that is done and payment is issued, I can start working with Mason when he gets back and finalize the closeout process with the MSBA. Part of that closeout process is their final review of all the change orders. At this time, based on their review, they have indicated they're going to give the city about another $500,000 in reimbursables. There will be a final review and a final audit of everything. That number, we hope will improve, but I don't think it'll go down. But again, all of the adjustments have to be taken into account. So we've already started the process, and hopefully it'll go smoothly. I've been in contact with the MSBA and our project manager, and they are very, actively engaged in the process. So hopefully we'll be able to get you guys your final reimbursement from the MSBA as soon as that's completed.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions about the process?
So if I hear you right, actually this 176 to the good is going to grow a little bit because there'll be some money from the
Well,
KBA contract?
that 176 is only from the construction manager's contract. So what was your original contract value?
223,088, 3 something.
Yeah,
223,088, 312, and with this final credit, our final Consigli's final contract value is 223,345, 895. So there was only, less than $300,000 in change orders.
in net change orders,
In
right.
net change orders to
Right.
Consigli after all the ads and all the credits. Only an ad of less than $300,000 to Consigli's contract.
Right.
But there will be money coming back from the KBA contract.
So the KBA contract, I don't really want to go into the whole breakdown, but they had their contract administration, and then they had reimbursables that are defined, the categories are defined by the MSBA. And so when they originally did their amendment going from the feasibility study into design, they estimated what they would be spending for each of these categories. Some of them were for printing, that was a big one. But like the surveying, the geothermal, I'm sorry, the geotechnical, engineering and all of that. And so they, erred on the side of caution, if you will. And so there's some money in those reimbursables that was not used. So that goes back to the city in the form of savings. As Joe mentioned, there's a couple of things that are outstanding. And I believe it's just related to the order of conditions with Concom. The final confirmation, as soon as that is complete, they'll be able to do their final calculation. And then they will offer back a credit to the city. And we will do called a budget revision request. That's how we manage the money within the ProPay system. But that'll all go back to the original contract value as well.
Okay.
Do you have anything, Rob?
No, I was
Okay.
pointing Jack out for you.
All right, very good. Anybody have anything else for Anjanette?
Actually, I have a question for Joe. On the agenda, it talks about permitting and lead updates.
Permitting what?
Permitting and lead updates.
So that's, yeah. And I think Craig actually, did he talk to you about the lead update?
No.
Oh, great.
He was out
okay.
sick today, he has strep,
Okay.
so I didn't talk to him today.
I'll see if I can find it, but I'm pretty sure that the lead, all of the reviewers come back,
Yes.
all right?
Yeah.
And it was, I think they accepted everything, is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yep.
So we've complied with our lead requirements?
Yes.
Good.
We've done everything we can. The last thing that they were waiting for was confirmation from the MSBA's commissioning agent to fulfill his requirements. And then I think that's been done, and so they're completing that,
Okay.
that certification.
And then-
And the other stuff for the Concom is, we received the information back from the city. We're in the process of going through doing the documentation that we submit back as the certification of each one of those. I think there's 3 of them we have to do, and then that will be closing that out. I've let my consultants know that we are going to be closing out the job in April, and that I need them to complete that task by the end of this month.
Okay, if I remember correctly, the Conservation Commission approved the amendment to the order of conditions to allow the maintenance
Maintenance building.
condition, correct?
Mhm.
So that's been put to bed, right?
Yeah, as far as I
And
know.
then-
Right, Jason?
What's that?
That's right. Jason's fully complying with the order of conditions modification, yes.
And then we had the lot over at Highland. Is that on the agenda for the Conservation Commission tonight to approve?
I don't know specifically if it is or not, but that was one of the things that we had for the certification of compliance. So I believe that is all done. One of the things they were waiting for was for certain city agencies to move piles of dirt or whatever they had that were covering some of the catch basins. And once they did that, Nick had sent back a note saying that they were able to go through and then allow that to happen and provide the certification. So now we can give you back the, so I think that's all done, as far as I can tell.
I believe that's on for approval tonight by the Conservation Commission.
There he is.
There's Nick right there.
Nick?
Hi.
Home to service.
Is the high school parking lot, the Highland lot, on your agenda for tonight for Concom?
It is.
Okay. And do you expect to, will it be done tonight, Nick, or is it
I
discussion?
am recommending approval for issuance of a certificate of compliance.
And a vote would be taken tonight?
Yes.
Okay.
And do we have certificates of compliance for the other aspects of the job, or are we still
So
waiting?
every aspect of it is currently on the agenda for requests, but we haven't finished our review of the other items.
Okay, so that will be within the next month?
I would expect by the next meeting, which is April 2nd.
Good.
Okay. Perfect. Thanks, Nick.
Your timing was great.
Thanks for strolling in when you did. Could I ask somebody, before we wrap up, because we haven't met since November, 2 questions. Roof leaks, any changes in the roof leak status? In November, there had been none since then, Jason?
No, nothing that we're concerned with. We've had some leaking, but HV related.
Okay. And then I think I saw at a recent school committee meeting, there was still talk about the decorative lights in the front. Are those all
We're still
fully?
working on those. We've made, so Griffin's been great, sort of going out there troubleshooting it. Brand new fixtures have been installed, but we've still had some consistency issues.
Yeah.
The last thing to really look at is the controls, so that's where we are right now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, so they did a wholesale replacement of all the old fixtures.
Yes, correct.
To a whole different manufacturer.
Correct.
And there's still some issues.
Yes.
So now you're looking into the controls, were the controls replaced as part of it? or-
Wiring was, the low voltage wiring was not.
No. And the controls themselves, Griffin is troubleshooting that. And sometimes we'll go a few weeks and everything's great, and then,
So the lights are a different manufacturer from the controls?
They always were.
but yeah,
Oh, well,
that's,
Do you anticipate this is gonna be an ongoing issue, or is it ever gonna be fully resolved, or we just have to live with it?
I think we're zeroing in on it,
Okay.
I really do. And Griffin has not, by any stretch, stopped working on it. And if anybody can figure it out, they can, and the district's electrician's been working with them, so I think we're closing in on it.
The only item outstanding in the Highland lot is the Liston's container there, Mark, if you would follow up with them.
So,
Sorry,
actually, just
Jason.
a note about that, they're putting that on a grassy area that we're gonna need to scrape up a little bit and put some stone down before we can place it. So we're working on that this week, and then we'll move that container. I would imagine within the next week or so.
Oh, all right, so it's going somewhere on school property?
Yes.
Okay, all right, didn't know that. All right, thank you. Anybody else think of any outstanding?
I think we need to vote to
Issues?
accept change order number 37, 'cause I don't think we
We
did
can
that.
do that. All right, very good. Then I would entertain a motion to approve change order 37.
Move to accept.
Second. Comments, questions, concerns? All those in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. Any parting thoughts before we end? Conclude? I guess we're meeting again on the 16th. Is that a firm date?
Our plan is to meet on the 16th. If everything goes in a positive direction, we'll for sure be ready to meet at that time. And again, we'll have the final invoices for hopefully both Consigli and KBA, and that will be it.
All right. Can I just ask one, the $7,000, is the city supposed to pay that directly to Engrid? So it has nothing to do with you
So-
folks?
So what you guys did before with the, I think it was the study fee?
Yeah.
Is the city paid for it through project savings.
Okay.
And then Brooke had me put it into the ProPay system. So then I guess it comes out of the same fund as the project anyways, and then we just resubmit it and it becomes part, I submit it to ProPay, and it becomes part of the project cost.
All right. Thank you, Antoinette.
Yep.
All right, folks, then if that's it, I would entertain a motion to adjourn at 5:57.
So moved. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, we're adjourned. Thank you all. Is he here tonight? Is NBC here tonight?